Hello friends, Chris is going back to our video. This is another request assigned for David. And the name of this video is His Victim Was Only 4 Years Old, the Eric Smith case. I've heard of this before. I never looked into it that much, but let's see what this story is,
Smith wasn't the most popular kid in school. He was often made fun of for his red hair, freckles, and glasses. Because of the bullying he endured, he carried a lot of anger with him. One summer day, as he was riding his bike home from the closed rec center, he saw a 4-year-old little boy walking alone and immediately decided that
this poor kid, man.
He thought to himself, this is the perfect victim. Pathetic that he went after someone so defenseless. Was there any other reason for choosing a 4-year-old besides him being small? Our story takes place in the small town of Savona, New York. It was a hot summer day in August of 1993, and 4-year-old Derek Roby was on his way to the summer recreation program he'd been attending. Normally, his mom Doreen would take him, but she was busy with Derek's little brother. Since it was just a short walk down the same side of the street 1 block down, Derek told his mom he could walk by himself. He said, "It's okay, Mom, I'll go by myself. You know, it's no problem. The kids are probably going down the street." Doreen agreed. This was the first time she had ever let him walk alone. She handed Derek his lunch, he kissed her, they exchanged I love yous, and Derek was on his way. Shortly after that, it started to storm, so Doreen went to pick up Derek. When she arrived at the park where the rec program took place, she was told Derek never showed up that morning. That's when the panic set in. Doreen immediately called the police and began searching for her son. Many people joined in on the search, hoping to find Derek safe and sound. Sadly, a few hours later, that hope was crushed. Derek's body was found. The boy's corpse was hidden in the woods several feet away from the park.
I forget what he did to him, though.
Covered in wounds, some of which were from heavy rocks being dropped on top of him.
Damn, bro.
With a stick. To make matters worse, the authorities found Kool-Aid in Derek's wounds. The
oh my
had gotten it from Derek's lunch bag,
God.
which was found ripped open, missing the Kool-Aid his mom had packed in. Derek's COD was later determined to be blunt trauma to the head with contributing asphyxia. When word got out about the homicide, the whole town of Savona freaked out. Not only were they heartbroken for Derek and his family, but they were scared that whoever did this wasn't done. Who were they going to attack next? At first, most everyone thought the perp was an out-of-towner, especially since the crime took place not too far from a major highway. Not to mention, everyone in Savona knew each other, and no one could imagine one of their own being able to do such cruel things to this innocent 4-year-old boy, especially Derek, who was known by many as the unofficial mayor of Savona. He was an excellent football player and an overall happy, outgoing kid. But it turns out the crime was committed by someone in town. About a week after the incident,
this little fuck face right here.
A 13-year-old boy named Eric Smith. Apparently, the night of the crime,
I'm showing no mercy after killing a child like that.
The perp turned out to be a kid. Marlene replied, "I think they seriously need some psychiatric help." She thought it was a weird question to be asked, but it seemed completely hypothetical at that point. However, Marlene realized Eric went to that same park earlier in the day. What if he was the perp everyone was looking for? Marlene grew even more suspicious after she witnessed extremely weird behavior from Eric in the following days. Because of this, she called Eric's mom. Marlene and Eric's mom took Eric to the police station to meet with detectives. You didn't expect a kid that looks like this to do something so horrible. He hadn't seen Derek that day, but gave a full confession shortly after. Eric said he was in a really bad mood that morning. He rode his bike to the rec program, but it wasn't open yet.
Punch a fucking pillow then, not a human.
Full of rage, Eric saw 4-year-old Derek walking by himself and decided to take his anger out.
Then what you did this kid do to a fucking pillow?
A shortcut to get to the park. Derek followed his lead, and that's how they ended up in a wooded area.
Of what you did.
First, Eric said he strangled Derek. Then he dropped a 26-pound rock on his head and...
God damn, bro. Oh my God.
The stick would reach Derek's heart and stop it from beating.
No. Oh my God.
He said he enjoyed harming Derek and didn't want it to end. When asked why he did it, Eric said, "I don't know. I just saw this kid, this blonde kid, and I wanted to hurt him." He also said he was tired of being bullied by other kids. Eric was often made fun of for his red hair, freckles, and big ears. His classmates also teased him for being a bit slow in school. Eric was fed up with being bullied and decided to become the bully himself.
This is about as bad as that Isabel Guzman bitch.
It still gives him no reason to go and execute an innocent little boy. Eric went to trial in August of 1994. At this point, he was 14 years old, but was tried as an adult. It's so strange because Eric looked so young in all the photos from his trial.
He looks like a... He looks like a little...
terrible thing. Because he had already confessed, this wasn't a very difficult case to solve. Prosecutor John Tenney presented everything known about this crime, including all of the disturbing details. John said he could have simply killed Derek, but he chose not to simply kill Derek. Eric continued to deal with Derek's body because he wanted to, because he chose to, and most frighteningly, because he enjoyed it. John believes Eric was a budding serial killer who would have acted out again had he not been arrested. The defense attorney said
That's
Eric's
fucked
mom,
up.
Tammy, took anti-seizure and antidepressant meds when she was pregnant with Eric. They believed this mixture of medications gave Eric rage disorder, which is what they blamed his actions on, in addition to the intense bullying suffered by Eric. But no one was buying any of this. Eric seemed to be fully aware of his actions. He did have a bit of an interesting hobby, though, dressing up.
Where was
This bit of
Eric's parents in
information
this
was revealed by Eric's
situation?
grandparents, whom he liked to hang out with frequently. In
Where
the
was
end,
his
the jury found Eric
parents?
guilty of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 9 years to life in prison. Eric was sent straight to a juvenile facility where he stayed until 2001. After that, Eric was moved to state prison. He was eligible for parole in 2002, but his request was denied. Every 2 years after that, Eric was eligible
That's
for
what it looks like
parole,
now?
which he applied for each
God,
time.
if it
This
didn't
was
look,
always very stressful for Derek's
didn't
family,
look
who
peculiar
obviously wanted
before.
their son's killer to stay in jail. They actually tried to push for legislation that would only grant violent felons the opportunity for parole every 5 years because it was painful to be reminded of the crime so frequently. Doreen said, "It upsets me. The fact that we have to beg to keep this killer behind bars. They could decide that. Well, now he's done his time, and we're going to let him go. It scares the hell out of me."
What?
At Eric's parole hearing in 2004, he
You
told
letting his
the
ass
board
out
that
now?
he enjoyed throttling Derek. He said, "Instead of me being hurt, I was hurting somebody else." Eric also told the board that if he wasn't initially charged with a crime, he most likely would have gone after another victim. To no one's surprise, Eric was denied parole. But in October of 2021, after receiving 10 no's,
That's what it looks
Eric
like
got a
now?
yes. He was officially granted parole. This came as a huge shock to the community, but Eric seemed to have really turned his life around in the past several years. He'd gone through extensive therapy, which definitely helped him cope with his bullying and try to make amends for his actions. In a 2009 news interview, Eric said, "My anger wasn't directed at Derek at all. It was directed at all the other guys that used to pick on me. And when I was torturing and killing Derek, that was what I saw in my head." Eric decided he wanted to become a counselor so he could help other kids who were bullied. He said, "I want to get married and raise a family, hold down a job, pursue
Nobody's gonna want
dreams."
you
He
after what
admitted to
you
killing
fucking
Derek and
did.
understood why the victim's family didn't want him to be set free. He also read this apology letter. "I know my actions have caused a terrible loss in the Roby family, and for that, I am truly sorry. I've tried to think as much as possible about what Derek will never experience. His 16th birthday, Christmas,
His head, that's
owning
my
his
arm.
own house, graduating, going to college, getting married, his first child. If I could go back in time, I would switch places with Derek and endure all the pain I've caused him. If it meant that he would go on living, I would switch places, but I can't." But after getting all these moving interview answers, Eric
He
remained
just
in
said
prison
that
for
to
12
gain
more years.
sympathy.
He said he knew he would be released someday, and at age 41, that day came. At his parole hearing, Eric told the board that he's learned coping mechanisms for his anger and now understood the value of human life. He said that God called on him to get into
Get a
ministry, which led
close
him to
yours.
take college classes in jail, earning his degree in evangelism. He also spoke about plans to get a job as a carpenter or electrician. The most surprising thing for me to hear was that Eric has a fiance, and it wasn't a fellow inmate. Some woman who was working on becoming a lawyer
I'm
had
scared to
some
call my
questions about the
electrician
juvenile
now.
system. So she wrote a
Might
letter
be
to
this
Eric
guy.
to ask a few questions. He wrote her back, and then she wrote him again, and so on and so forth. Somewhere along the way, the two fell in love with each other and decided to get married. Eric told the parole board that he was excited to start a new life with this woman and was no longer a menace to society. He said, "The 13-year-old kid that took Derek's life is not the man sitting in front of you talking. If you were to give me the chance, I would not only prove that I am not a threat, I would definitely be an asset to society." The board was moved by Eric's newfound attitude. They also recognized that Eric only had 3 citations for disciplinary issues, all before 2005. Because of this, they granted him parole. He was ordered to remain in the state of New York, keep in close contact with his parole officer, stay away from people who participate in illegal activities, and is never allowed to own firearms. After word got out, the people of Savona held a candlelight vigil and a march for Derek. They peacefully protested the release of Eric Smith and made it clear that they did not want him back in Savona. Most people believe that's where he would go since his mom still lived there. Surprisingly enough, Derek's family took this news as well as they could have. Doreen said, "I understand why, after so many years, they decided to give him a chance. And that's fine, for him and his family. He's been released, but in a way, so have we. No more parole. I can get on with our lives. Now the true healing can begin." Eric was officially released in February of 2022.
Still.
At this point, he was 42 and served 28 years in jail. The reason it took a few months for Eric to get released is that he had to find approved housing. He found a spot in Queens, New York, which is where he lives now. Eric said he chose to live there because he didn't want to go back to Savona. Clearly, no one wanted him there, and it also would have been even harder for Derek's family. Imagine going to a restaurant in town and seeing the man who took your son's life. Doreen said in an interview, "I don't let him take space in my head. I do not focus on where he is, what he's doing, because I don't care. As as long as he's not near friends and family. Every anniversary following the day Derek passed, Doreen and her family always try to go out and do something fun to keep their mind off of things. Derek loved vanilla ice cream, or as he called it, white ice cream with sprinkles. So they go out and get some on August 2nd every year. The hope of the Roby family and everyone in Savona is for Derek to be remembered for the positives. He was a bright, bubbly little boy that was loved by many. He truly deserved to live a full life.
Bless
and no
him.
apology Eric can give will make
May
up
rest
for
in
that.
peace.
As for Eric, it's unfortunate he was bullied so much in his life, and reports also mention him experiencing an abusive childhood. It's sad he had to go through that, but even more sad he resorted to violence as a coping mechanism. I really hope he has changed for the better and doesn't blow this second chance at life. And there you have it. The tragic story of how Derek Roby lost his life at the hands of 13-year-old Eric Smith. What do you all think about the outcome of this case? Do you think Eric should have been set free? Or do you believe he should still be in jail for life?
Yes.
I'm a bit conflicted, but I'm very curious to hear if he ends up marrying that lawyer lady. What an interesting couple they make. Anyway, that's all for today. I'm Allie, and thanks for watching Killer Bites.
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about that ending, man, about him getting out of jail. If you ask me, he still should be in jail, but I'm not a part of the situation, so... Twinkie? Hi. Just to show you guys him real quick. Get your mind off things. And he wants out. But yeah, sorry for so long, guys. I just really wanted to find something to get my mind off this, because this was really sad. Poor Derek. With that said, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Peace out. See you in the next video. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.